Good morning, beautiful people, and welcome to my channel. My name is Cherise, and I feel stuck. And I feel like feeling stuck is never really a fun place to be in, because I realize the longer that I'm here in Utah and living in the city, the less I want to be here, and the more I want to go back to other places that I've been that are more in the wilderness or nature, and the more I want to go back into a more nomadic lifestyle. The shitty thing though about feeling stuck is that oftentimes you're faced with this realization, like I am right now, that the only person that can unstuck me is myself. And that's terrifying, and while it can be encouraging sometimes, it actually feels very discouraging right now, because I am terrified. Like, even though I lived out of my forerunner for 4 years and I've learned a massive amount of trust with the universe in providing my needs, there is this certain level of major instability that I don't necessarily like. Like, yes, I can go back into this and fall back into that type of living, and I'm sure once again all of my needs will be met, but there is something very appealing to me about the consistency of knowing hey, this is, you're gonna get paid, so it's there is a comfortability to this type of lifestyle that I have transitioned back into. So I understand, for anybody who wants to jump into any form of alternative living, such as traveling, moving into your vehicle, there is sometimes the hardest part is pushing yourself to do it, because it's terrifying. Oftentimes you don't know what you're going to do. You don't know how the money is going to come to you. I have some other things that I'm considering at this time. I actually don't really like being on computers that much, but I am actually considering finding jobs that are going to be computer based, that I can basically make money and travel as long as I have Wi-Fi, and I can do that. So that is definitely one of my options that I am considering at this time, even though I have almost vehemently been against it, because I really don't like sitting on computers for that much. But at this point, being back into this kind of normal way of living, it feels like it is ripping me apart from the inside, and I think a lot of people relate to that. I think a lot of people know what that feels like, whether or not you've been in any form of alternative living style, nomadic living, whether you've done that before or not. I think a lot of people find that style of living appealing because of how torturous it can be to live in today's acceptable society, which is full of workaholics. I'm personally very grateful for my living situation, because my brother does not pay me very much for rent. I pay $350 for rent, which is just uncomparable, especially when you are living in a large city where rent for everybody else is constantly increasing. And I'm so grateful for the living situation that I have right now. Even though I honestly can't stand living in apartments, it feels so suffocating. And even with my rent being that low, I am working such a low amount of hours that I am still barely making it by. So it's very interesting just being here and entering back into this lifestyle. And like I said, I am grateful for my time that I've been here, because I desperately needed some support and to be around somebody who would love and just kind of give a certain level of nurturing to me, because I was not able to support or take care of myself. at the time before I moved out here due to some mental health issues and dropping into a very, very intense depressive low. So I have been working a lot on my healing, and I just like I don't like my job, and I'm so grateful for it, and I try to find the positive in going. And a little update, I did have a job interview recently at a coffee shop, and I found out what their pay per hour is $6 an hour, and even after tips, she said it averages $10 an hour, and that's not even guaranteed. That is 100% not a livable wage. I also got a message from her saying that they could only offer me one shift a week anyway, and so I already planned on turning that down because I can't survive off that if I was doing both jobs. But even then, like, my time is worth so much more than $6 to $10 an hour. So that just did not end up being a lucrative option for me. But I will say, after that, it made me a little bit more grateful for my job where I make almost $17 an hour. Super grateful for that in comparison. Still don't make as much money that I used to make while working on farms, but you know what? I am very grateful for what I am making right now and for having a very positive work environment despite the fact that I do not like being there and I cry almost every day before going to work. Today was definitely a rough day for me emotionally. And I found myself just kind of beating myself down. And if you watch my channel, like, you know, I'm all about like self-love and kindness and compassion and patience with yourself. And this is something that I consistently try to give to myself as well. But I struggle with that too. There are some days like today that it is so hard to look at myself and like what I see, like the person that I am, and just love and accept myself for where I'm at. Like today was one of those days that I just was pissed at myself. I'm frustrated with my life. I'm frustrated with where I'm at. I don't even, like, I'll be honest about that with other people, but I also don't want to admit it because I think so much of the spiritual community and the self growth and self-improvement community is kind of has this, like, I don't know, it's not always the most nurturing mentality, especially towards people who struggle with their mental health and deal with actual, like, disorders. And I do not think that dealing with a certain disorder that you are bound to that. I'm not about putting people into boxes, and I believe that healing is possible for everybody. But I do believe that mental health issues are absolutely real. And for a lot of people, a lot of times you need actual, like, prescription medication to help create a balance again in your brain. But yeah, so there's a lot in the spiritual community that's not very nurturing towards people who are struggling with keeping a positive mentality and with creating more progress in their life. And so I don't always want to admit that I'm not happy with my life because so much of what is being sold on the internet and in the spiritual community is kind of like this blaming, even though they're also on the vibe of being like self-love, self-acceptance. It's also like very intense blaming, like, this is your own fault, take responsibility for your life, which, like, yes, take responsibility for your own life, but belittling people who are already struggling to love themselves and accept themselves for who they are and where they're at in life, and looking at them and being like, it's because you're not positive enough, it's because of your own toxic cycles, it's because of your belief systems that you just can't get over. It's just, like, kind of abusive, to be honest. And that's something that I hope that I never create that kind of way of speaking to people on my channel. And I think that there have been times in the past where it just kind of felt like I was just kind of like in a point in my life where those were the kind of messages that I was personally receiving from spirit. But I will also say that I was in a really dark period of my life when I was also receiving those messages, and I was just constantly beating myself down and beating myself down and beating myself down into a really dark period. So perhaps even then, like even now, like looking back on that period of my life where like those were the messages I felt like I was receiving from my spirit. So I was giving a little bit more of those types of messages, yet I was in such a dark place and it wasn't actually encouraging me out of the darkness at all. So perhaps you are somebody who is dealing with that. I think that actually a lot of my followers, like part of the reason that you do follow me or that you watch my videos is because I'm like a real person and I'm not trying to sell you any type of spiritual belief, especially when I'm like struggling to believe in it myself. Like there's a lot out there, and I think personally there's a lot of misinformation and there's a lot of misunderstandings around certain things. I believe in a lot of pretty woo-woo things myself, but at the same time, like I am on a journey of kind of discerning the truth out of all these spiritual beliefs that I've been sold that actually might not be beneficial for my personal growth. Like, I think it's important to take a look at things like for some people, because everybody is different. Everybody lives differently. Everybody thinks differently. Everybody feels differently. So I honestly do believe that for one person, a certain type of spiritual belief might give them total momentum and determination and self-empower them, while that same belief system might actually make somebody else crumble and completely lose hope in themselves and life. So I just want to encourage anybody who's watching right now to have discernment with what you are watching and reading and taking in, and that if something doesn't feel right in your spirit, it's okay to let that go. I think there is one side of that where I have definitely been triggered, like gone on a little ego trip over certain things that I've read or heard in podcasts or philosophical conversations, and there are certain things that have triggered me and made me uncomfortable, and I would just kind of like work through that ego trip and trigger, and I would actually come to a place where it's like, okay, I understand that, and I'm no longer triggered by that, and now I can see the benefit in what was said. So there are those times, I will say that, where you also have to take a step back and recognize like, hey, is this just an ego trip? Am I just being triggered and going on an ego trip? Or is this actually something that is not beneficial for my growth? And perhaps some way down the line it will be, but perhaps at this point it is not beneficial to your growth. So yeah, a little rant off there. I think that there is like lots of information out there as well about like the energy of being stuck. And I've had my own things that I've said and believed around it that might not have even been beneficial to other people at the time. Like, we're all on our own journeys, guys, and that is a big part of discernment. And being on your own journey is learning what to take in and what to let pass by you, because you don't have to believe everything that is taught. You do not have to incorporate everything that is taught. And we are also all in different stages of our growth where, like I said, certain things might not be beneficial to you right now and might actually hinder your growth, while say in a year from now, a month from now, 5-10 years from now, that same thing that would have hindered your growth in the past might be something that could accelerate your growth. So it's all about timing is a big deal. When you are ready to receive certain things is a big deal. It's a big part of it. So, oh man, I feel like some of this stuff that I'm saying, I needed to hear because of how badly I was beating myself up today over some of the beliefs and teachings that I have just kind of like sucked up from the media from YouTube. I don't have social media, so it would be like YouTube or even certain books that I might have read, that certain things that I've just kind of sucked up and have turned into something that I have been using to verbally and emotionally abuse myself with. And I talked a little bit about this in a video I made a long time ago. I'll put it in the description, about a year ago, that's not that long ago, about positive affirmations and toxic positivity. This actually kind of goes along with that really well. So in that video, I talk actually about how healing positive affirmations have been to me, but I also talk about how sometimes positive affirmations and that level of positivity is not always healthy for me. And if it turns into something that is becoming abusive, which yes, is a form of an ego trip, once it turns into something that is abusive, it's time to take a step back from that and kind of be like, hey, okay, trying to transform my life through positive affirmations right now is actually causing more harm, and that might be the case. Not everything that is positive for you and for your life is always necessarily going to have a positive effect. It's like water is amazing and you need it, and yes, stay hydrated, but if you drink too much water, you can actually drown yourself. So too much of a good thing is not a good thing. It's the time and the place and the certain amount that you're taking in of it. So yeah, I needed to say this. I feel like I just needed to talk about this on my channel so I could hear it. Because I think I need that, because I just I beat myself up. And I think a lot of people do this, especially if you are on a self-healing or a self-growth type of journey or into spirituality of any kind. Like, oftentimes these beautiful and encouraging teachings can just completely turn around like a 180 and end up feeling so abusive to where you're at in life right now. And that's just kind of how I've been feeling, is because I feel stuck. I feel stuck where I am. But I know that I have a choice too. I know I have a choice to leave. I know that if I wanted to, I could get up and I could leave tomorrow. And I could figure it out and I could go back into that. And that actually is so tempting. Maybe I will do that. Maybe I will. Who fucking knows? So I know that I have a choice, but I still have this feeling of stuckness. I think feeling stuck also is kind of like, it's kind of like being in limbo. It's kind of this feeling of stagnancy when you want to be moving. It's this in-between state. And I think that there is a little bit of hate as well from the spiritual community on even feeling stuck. While at the same time, sometimes the place that you are stuck in is exactly where you are supposed to be at that time. And that is not always encouraging, especially when you want to get the fuck out of it. And maybe if you are feeling stuck, it is a call to get you out of it. But at the same time, I do not think that feeling stuck is necessarily a negative or bad thing. It is just a feeling, just like anything else. And I think that it is a feeling that encourages change in some type of way. And for me, I think that I have just been having dreams like constantly about moving and going somewhere else and going on a journey, which I think that is just like confirmation in my soul that like not only am I dreaming about this because it's something that I desire, but I have a lot of actually very prophetic dreams, things that come true all the fucking time. I have a dream journal that I keep in my phone, and I have looked back on some of those dreams and found that like these dreams that didn't make any sense were actually events that took place months, even sometimes years after them happening. So it actually feels nice to be dreaming of going on a journey and leaving and packing and all of this, but at the same time it also it adds to that little bit of a feeling of stuckness. And I am really trying to stick it out right now where I'm at, because I love the therapy that I'm in, and to be completely honest, that is one of the only things, other than like the comfortability of having financial stability to a certain degree right now. Having that is what is keeping me here, and it's encouraging me to be like, just wait it out a little longer. You are making progress right now with your therapy. You've been waiting to get into therapy for a long time, and now you are here with the most amazing therapist that you could have wanted. Just stick it out. Just stick it out a little longer. And even that stuck it out. Like, sometimes feeling stuck isn't a bad thing. Sometimes it just feels like this, like, energy of stagnancy, like you're not going anywhere when you want to be going anywhere. And I think for myself, that feeling of stuck is definitely still a call for change, but I also think it's a call for change in other areas of my life as well that I don't necessarily talk about on this channel. Other areas of my life that are like, hey, perhaps the lifestyle that you're living, little things here and there, are not encouraging healing. There are some things in my life that I've been participating in that are most definitely not encouraging to my healing. I would say to growth, for sure. You can take everything and use it towards growth for the most part. But I do not think that it has been encouraging a state of positivity in my life. And I think that at the same time, when you're doing things and living a certain way that is encouraging states of constant negativity or brain imbalances, such as alcoholism or certain types of drug use, I think that that can also lean over into this feeling of stuckness, that call for a change, where maybe it's just little habits in your life that you need to change, that I need to change to pull myself out of that stuck energy. I think another one can be even like sex addiction. Any form of addiction can encourage a level of stuckness, a feeling of stuckness. So yeah, I'm so grateful that I like have this channel, because to be honest, like, just making these videos actually helps me work through and process what I'm internally going through and what I can possibly do to create change in my life in the areas that I can create change. So thank you guys for watching my channel. Please do like and subscribe. As always, if you are going through anything that feels discouraging, or you feel stuck in any way in life, I hope that you are kind and compassionate and patient with yourself. Like I say in all my videos, that is the greatest gift that you can give to yourself. And perhaps you're ready for a change. Perhaps you're ready for a small change. Perhaps this is just in your diet. I personally have kind of fell off the rocker a little bit with my diet, because I have been barely making it by with finances, so I've been mostly living off of the food bank, and my body definitely does not feel the healthiest. I kind of stopped working out for the most part. I've been slacking on doing yoga. So there are so many things right now that I'm like, hey, these little healthy habits, which also I created a video recently about healthy daily self-care habits. I do encourage you to check that out if you need any encouragement, and just like to know little things that you could do each day to encourage a lifestyle of healthiness. And I think that that rolls over into your mental health, your emotional health, as well as your physical health. But perhaps the change that is needed to shift out of that stuck feeling is just small little habitual changes. I don't know if that even makes sense. Small little changes in habit. Perhaps that's the change that needs to happen, or perhaps it is a larger shift. Like for me, I feel like I am gonna move. I feel like I'm gonna move again, and I don't know when. And like I said, I'm really trying to encourage and push myself to stick it out here for a little longer, because I'm about to start doing some EMDR. I don't remember what that stands for, but perhaps you know, in my therapy. So I'm excited for that, because perhaps I'm going to start being able to really work through and release some of the traumas that my body has been holding on to. And that would be awesome, because that is so important and imperative to my growth. And I feel like if that's where I'm at right now, it's something that I've been looking for and wanting for a long time, and now I'm here with it. So you know what? I need to sit through it and stick it out through the parts that aren't necessarily uncomfortable. But at the same time, like, maybe it's a bigger change. Maybe it's time to change your job. I want to change my job, but at the same time, I am realizing that this is definitely one of the better paying jobs for positions that do not require a college education. So I am also being like, hey, I am grateful to have this job and to have this level of financial stability while I am working on my mental health, because that is what I came here to do. It was not just to go back into this societally acceptable lifestyle forever, but I did come here specifically to work on my mental health. So yeah, but maybe a change of job, maybe a change of scenery, maybe it's time to move for you. Maybe this is the confirmation. Maybe you should go to India. Maybe you should go to India. I actually was gonna take this shirt off and change into something else, but then I was like, I don't know, maybe somebody needed to hear that. Maybe somebody's been wanting to go to India, and this was the encouragement. So yeah, guys, that's gonna be it for today. Once again, that didn't really go the way that I expected it to, but I am happy about the way that it went, and I'm so grateful that I get to be here and connecting with you guys. Seriously, this is such an amazing outlet for my own self-expression, as well as a beautiful little community that is being built. So yeah, thank you for being here, and I love you guys. I believe in you, and I hope that you have an absolutely amazing and beautiful day. Okay, love you, bye.